Good afternoon and welcome back to another round of Hammer's Racing Community, the H18 GT3 Season number 4 here at Division 1 Round 9 at the Daytona International Speedway. It's a historic track that is very well known for quite a few reasons. Obviously we have the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, a very famous endurance race in this part of the world. And then also the Daytona 500 is another iconic track. But today we are here for one of our 90-minute rounds here at Daytona, 45 laps after a 15-minute qualifying session, the 2 of 3 separate endurance races that we're doing this season. So, once again, my name is Patrick Coleman, aka Rekus, and I'll be your host and commentator for today's race. Although we only have 8 drivers at the moment, we're still going to have a lot of fun here today. And while we are waiting to officially go green, as Clemson is saying that we are going to go ahead and start in about 2 minutes time, let me go ahead and tell you about this fantastic track. We are on the Daytona road course, so a lot of people may know it for its full oval, while you still use a good chunk of the oval, in particular Sector 3 and Sector 5. There is a good amount of a break instead of going straight through into what would be normally Turn 2 on the oval. You have Turn 1 going into the deep International Horseshoe section, which is around Turns 2 and 3. And it is an interesting track. It is 12 corners, but a good amount of these corners are high speed, about half of them, considering some of these corners are just part of the oval. So it's a high-speed balance and performance here around these 12 corners, and the pit stop time is roughly around 31 seconds. Granted, this is just taking account for getting a brand new set of tires. If you get fuel, your pit stop will take a bit longer than that, but overall 5.73 kilometers, 3.56 miles around. And the longest straight on this section, not counting any of the oval parts, is shortly after turn 8, right before the Le Mans chicane. It is 0.36 miles on a 575 meter long straight down the backstretch. Right now, there's no wind here at all today, despite the cloudy nature of this track that is in my home state. And as always, my name is Patrick Coleman, aka Rekus, and I'm going to be your host and commentator for today's race. So if you guys are brand new here, be sure to go ahead and follow us here on Twitch, but also check out our YouTube channel. Drop a like and subscribe over there, because shortly after this stream wraps up, we will be going ahead and uploading the Division 1 VOD up to YouTube. And that way the race will always be available for you to watch, and go check out the other Division 1 races, as well as the plethora of Division 2 races that are also on the YouTube platform. Unfortunately, not all the races are there. It's been a bit of a tricky challenge logistically, but anyways, we'll get back to that at a later date. We are about to go ahead and get to our 15-minute qualifying session here in the GT3 category, and we're here at Daytona getting ready for 15 minutes of qualifying, followed by a 45 lap race. And here we go. So it's gonna be an interesting thing here today, because last week it was pure domination at Interlagos from the Alfa Romeo duo powered by Inferno Motorsports of Berger and Muser, which are both in this lobby today. Now let me go ahead and pull up some statistics here and just check on the points that are currently in the season. How many points are here while these drivers are going to go ahead and get their outlaps going. Let's go ahead and bring it up. So taking a look at our driver standings here, it is currently in Inferno Motorsports 1-2 at the moment. And actually, Beetlejuice, which I believe is Muser. Oh, no, sorry. I have the wrong people. It is still a 1-2 for the Finnish GT racers. So one of the Aston Martin that you are currently on with Rantala, and then you have the other one of Itkonen, which I believe Itkonen is currently the championship leader. Yes. So Itkonen is the current championship leader. He's got quite a healthy margin in the championship standings for this championship so far. He currently has a single win to his name, but 5 podiums. So he's got 225 points to his name. His teammate has 173. The closest driver being a driver who actually hasn't participated in quite some time. That is Jay Fox, who was part of the My Esports team, driving the number 29 Mazda VGT. Still currently in 3rd place, although he hasn't competed since Lago Maggiore earlier on in the season. He's got 157 points. And that is our top 3 at the moment. Taking a look at the team standings here for Division 1. It is once again GT Finland racers overall, even in D1 and D2. My Team Esports in P2, and then the second Inferno Motorsport squad in P3 at the moment. So D1 398 points, 242 points, and 216 points for those teams respectively. So it'll be interesting here today to see how everything is gonna go on. So let's just see how today goes. We're gonna actually sit on board with our current championship leader, as he's going to go ahead and make his way through Daytona. Now, this is the most technical part of the track here, the very technical Sector 1, as he's going through what is known as the International Horseshoe. It's a very tricky corner. It looks like a simple hairpin, but you really have to navigate it well. You have to make sure that you're lined up perfectly, and you also have to make sure that there's nobody coming out into the pits. Now there's quite a bit of wind here. It is 15.2 feet per second, primarily south, but a little bit to the east. So that is going to provide a bit of a tailwind through the section that Itkonen has just driven through now, which is turn 5. Now he's going into turn 6, and now he's about to actually enter onto the oval. Now, oval racing is a big thing here in the United States of America. The Daytona International Speedway being one of the most famous, if not the most famous oval in the entire world. Partially due to its, a lot of people know the Daytona 500, which is a very popular NASCAR race that happens here in the central part of the Sunshine State. As we're seeing a few drivers setting times at the moment. Berger with a 1:47.047 is the time to beat. Now, can Itkonen go ahead and usurp that time? There's 5 sectors on this track, which is a bit different than most, but it's still about the same distance as a good amount of the tracks we go to today. It is a bit of a longer race though, so we'll just have to see how that all plays out. Yesterday was one of our double headers, so we had 2 30-minute races, or 2 18-lap races around Interlagos last time out. And Itkonen's time is only good enough for P6 at the moment. We're going to take a look now. Actually, Vader is a bit off circuit at the moment. We'll see if we can find out the cause of that. So he's coming out of the pits. And... oh, yep. He got into the grass a bit, and that's all she wrote. If you get on that grass, then it's pretty much game over for you at that point. As it is with a lot of the circuits here on track, we're going to go on board now with Berger, one of the winners from last time out. Obviously, Muser and Berger did swap around a bit in the race at the doubleheader at Interlagos. So they pulled in quite a few points. They got a 1-2 finish on both occasions. Even at the end of the last race, their team principal just told them to go flat out and let them fight. And then allowed Muser to go ahead and slingshot past at the last moment to take victory in race 1. Race 2 went more of Berger's way. But it was a serious points haul for Alfa Romeo. And it is a 1-2 once again for the Inferno Motorsport squad. Now we're getting closer and closer to the end of the season. We're on round 9 out of 12, so we have 3 more rounds left to go after this one. So you know what that means. It is going to be high intensity action happening all throughout this season. A lot of teams fighting for those positions in the Drivers and the Constructors Championship, because both of those battles are still going on at the moment, still going strong. As we're going to go ahead and take a look at some other interesting statistics so far. So another thing to note actually with current championship leader Daytona, who's now actually in 3rd place, his best qualifying is actually P2, so he's never been on pole position for any of the races, which is an interesting statistic. Yeah, so that's a very interesting statistic here. Yeah, so I'm taking a look through the stats. Actually, something is not quite adding up at the moment. Okay, there it is. I am just, unfortunately, a little blind. Some of the stats weren't looking exactly correct, but I just had to realign my eyes, and sure enough. So yeah, both of the Inferno Motorsports drivers did get a single win last time out, with Muser winning the first one and Berger winning the second round, and now they're once again 1-2 in the standings, but not that far ahead of championship leader Conan, as we're about halfway through the session already, Rantala. So an interesting thing to note is that I believe it was a similar situation at some point in the weekend last week, where it was a 1-2 for the Inferno Motorsports, but a 2-3 for the GT Finland Racers. So, and actually, looking at the statistics now, there is 3, each row is locked out by a specific team. So you have the Inferno Motorsports squad locking out P1 and P2 at the moment. You have the GT Finland Racers locking out P3 and P4 at the moment. And then you have the 9PP squad going ahead and locking out the 3rd row in P5 and P6. The other 2 drivers of Darth Vader and Alex, who are on teams but don't have teammates this time around, although Alex, I believe, is under a solo Exodus Motorsports entry, and I think Darth Vader's teammate is in D2. So the only drivers without teammates this round are currently on the back row. Interesting stuff here, as we're down to the final 6 minutes left of qualifying here for Daytona, but it is a long race. And now I think that we kind of touched on last week was that the Alfa Romeos were super good on management, but they kind of suffered in that top speed department. And this is a track that does have quite a bit of high top speed. It is a high speed circuit after all. The BOP setting that is enabled is high speed for these drivers. So we will see how this race all plays out. Once again, getting a pole position is a nice thing, and it's going to do you a lot of favors, but it is only one part of the race itself. To get the maximum points, you also have to win the race. So, I mean, anything can happen. We saw, unfortunately, with the driver who's unfortunately not here this time around, we did lose Chicken Curry, who was potentially going to get a podium last race, but unfortunately had that disconnect. And, I mean, oh, Alex, he's going to go ahead and split the 2 now. This is a driver that a lot of people have been talking about in recent times. Alex didn't have the greatest of times last time at Interlagos. Missed the first race and didn't have a great race in the second one. But at St. Croix, he dominated that race. Like, it was, after the first few laps, there was really no question that he was going to go ahead and win the race. So, yeah, Alex has been a driver that's been talked about quite a bit. I believe he also recently got P3 or P4 in a Super Formula Championship, which is always awesome because the Super Formula cars are quite tricky to drive in this game. So Alex has been a driver that's been talked about quite a bit. Hopefully we will see him around for next season, but we still have 4 races left to go this season to see how he does for the rest of the series. So he splits the 2 Alfa Romeos right now, but we do know that the Mercedes does have some very good straight line speed in this track. It has a good amount of moments where you're going to be using that straight line speed. As we see, he was even getting a bit of a tow from Crago in that P6 BMW at the moment. So he's getting a good amount of a tow there. And now the one thing about oval racing, and it is purple sectors here for Alex. So if he can keep this pace up, he might actually be able to snag a pole position away from User and Berger. Now, the one thing that you will learn, and you'll know pretty quickly if you are involved with oval racing by any stretch, is that getting a tow and a draft is very good for your lap times and your overall race pace. As we just saw there from Alex, who managed to hit the wall right there, but he did get a provisional pole position. And was he on mediums when he did that? So that was a pole time on mediums. Interesting. Muser is currently about a tenth, or sorry, not a tenth and a half. He is about a hundredth and a half in the lead at the moment, though. Purple sectors here from the Dutchman. And we will see if he can continue that trend and try to get pole position once again. So, I mean, there's a lot to play for here. Now, granted, the big championship battle in the Constructors is between Inferno and the GT Finland Racers, but, I mean, taking chips out of that lead is definitely what they need to do at the moment. So right now, even if it is another 2-3 or 1-2 or 1-3 even, it's gonna put this Inferno Motorsport squad in a good spot. He is currently setting purple sectors by about a tenth and a half, and those soft tires are really working out nicely for the Inferno Motorsport squad. Still a tenth up, coming on the last part of the oval, the last few corners on the racetrack. He is going now through turn 12 and making his way to the start-finish straight here as he goes along the straight, the home stretch of the Daytona International Speedway, and it is going to be a pole position time, but by only 65 hundredths of a second. Berger improves his time, Crago improving his time, but no one can usurp Muser at the moment. We'll see about Alex. He's on an L lap, and this is definitely the lap he's going to have to make count. He is on the soft tires now, and we know that the Mercedes does have some very good straight line speed. He's actually might try to get a bit of a tow here from Itkonen, which I wonder if Itkonen's on the lap, so he actually did get a bit of a tow there from the other Mercedes driver of Alex. It is a personal improvement, but it's not going to be enough to change any position. So unless he gains about 14 or about 1.4 tenths of a second on this back stretch, then it is going to be an improved time, but not an improved position. We'll see if that's going to be the case here. But he is going to improve a position. He's up to third. Still 3 tenths away from the pole position time of Muser now. Alex is on a lap now. We'll see what he can do, although I think he had a bit of a moment. But we'll see if that is going to affect his race or not. We're just going to keep an eye on the Exodus Motorsports driver as he's making his way through the International Horseshoe. He's coming to the end of Sector 1. So we'll see what his split is. He's not improving at the moment. So we'll see if he can improve throughout the other parts of the lap. So this is the part that he will fall the most to the Alfa Romeo. But at minimum, he needs to be making blue sectors and not the red ones. So for those of you who may not be as familiar with how Gran Turismo runs things, and Berger actually takes pole position now. So that is, once again, another 1-2 for these drivers. And Berger, I think, is going to be able to do... No, Berger's done. Muser's done. So the two Alfa Romeos are done and dusted. Alex is almost improving, but not quite. He is setting those red sectors, which means he is not improving. A blue sector would mean he's improving on his own time. But if you get a purple sector, that means you are on track of setting the fastest time of the session. Clemens is going to set a time good enough for P6 at the moment. We'll see how everything else is going to play out. We're staying on board with Alex as he's going to try to come across the line. He's going to try to pull pole position away. He's going to get a good amount of a tow there from the other Mercedes. Can Itkonen usurp these drivers? No, he doesn't. It's not an improved time for either of these drivers. Is there anyone else on the lap? No, everybody is done. So once again, it is an Inferno Motorsports 1-2 here at Daytona, and their domination continues. Berger takes pole position, only 81 hundredths of a second away from his teammate Muser. And then 3.5 tenths away from pole position, we have Alex, followed by the two Finnish GT racers of Itkonen and Rantala. Then we have Clemmensen and Corrego, so the 9PP squad coming in P6 and P7. And then Darth Vader will round out the grid for B&H Racing, the lone Ferrari on the grid. So it's going to be an interesting race here today. There's a lot of action that can happen. And the one thing about oval racing, I mean, yes, you can always make the joke about Americans, considering that a lot of the tracks here in the US are ovals that Americans can only turn left. There's a lot of turning left on this track, but there's a good amount of turning right as well. And trying to pack race in an oval is going to be a bit tricky, so you can expect some potential contact and maybe even a full-on accident in the first lap, especially around the Sector 3 oval coming out of turn 6 and going into turns 7 and 8. And maybe if we're all bunched up in a pack, going into turns 11 and 12, the last two corners on the track. So we start in about 5 minutes. That is going to go by way quicker than you think. So we'll just have to see how that all plays out. We'll be right back once we get going with today's race. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get ready for 45 laps around the circuit here at Daytona International Raceway. We are going to go very, very soon. We are seeing a good amount of banter in the in-game chat. It's always fun to see these drivers interact with each other. So we'll see how this is going to play out now. Here's the thing to note about these about this grid here, right? If we take a look once again at these top 5, it is Alfa Romeo versus Mercedes. Now, the Alfa Romeos are extremely nimble, so that's the thing about the Alfa Romeos, and their management is absolutely... I mean, the management on the Alfa Romeos, we've seen it, it is insane. They didn't make a pit stop all last week. So, we know that the Alfa Romeos do have good management, but the Mercedes straight line speed is immaculate. So we'll see how it all plays out, but you won't have to wait too long because we're going to go ahead and get ready and start the race here at Daytona. Variable weather is going to be in effect here. Or sorry, well, variable weather and variable times of day. Although I'm not sure if we're going to be expecting any rain here today. It doesn't seem like it, but alright, here we go. It is Inferno Motorsports leading the grid to turn 1 once again with our rolling start with our 8 drivers here. And it's lights out and away we go. It's a good launch for the Inferno Motorsports drivers, but Alex is already on the back of Muser trying to make a move going into turn number 1. We'll see if Alex can get it done. He's already up onto the gearboxes of both of the Alfa Romeos. So Alex is going to try to make a move. He's going to send it deep onto the inside of turn number 3, and oh, Muser gets into the grass. So he is going to lose a few positions there. Maybe a bit of a dive onto Alex. We'll check that out via the replay. So we'll check it from Muser's point of view. Yeah, okay, so there's no contact. He just went wide on turn number 3. So no contact there. That's the good thing. We don't want to see any contact in the early stages. And then Alex is already in the lead of this race. So once again, we'll have to take a look at that overtake because it was missed. So he's just hooking around the inside, and let's see. Oh, is he just going to try to... Oh, he's just forcing his way in. So late on the brakes, and Alex gets another move. So we know that the Mercedes is very strong on the straights, but the Alfa Romeo is strong in the management. Berger going to try to reclaim first place going into the Le Mans chicane. So far, no real advantage yet, but this is the early stages of the race, and this is one of our 3 90-minute races. Actually, correction, 4 90-minute races that we have on the calendar. So this is the second of the bunch, I believe. So it is going to be a long race here today. Drivers are going to get to go ahead and get strapped in. But Berger is going to send it around the outside onto the home stretch, but Alex is going to have the inside going into the corner. And if these two have an incident, Conan will be there ready to pounce. And it looks like Berger's trying to make it in. Alex goes very wide on turn number 1. And that is, he's going to lose a few positions. So Berger takes back the lead of this race. And it looks like Alex is going to get a move, or he's going to defend. A little bit of contact between Alex and Muser there. So no damage on either car to my knowledge, but that was still a little bit of contact here. And actually, I am correcting myself here. This is actually the last 90-minute race that we have of the season. So our second and final endurance round of season 4. So this is the last time we'll be going for 90 minutes in a singular session, but we are not quite there yet. It is only lap 2 out of 45 here at the Daytona International Raceway. And right now, taking a look at your top 5, it is Berger from Conan, Rantala, Alex, and Muser. So it's been a lukewarm start here for the Inferno squad. Well, Muser went wide going into turn 3 on lap 1, and Alex did the same in turn 1, lap 2. So it's been an interesting day here for shuffling up the order. We're going to actually take a look at Clemison, who might be in a decent spot to try to pounce here if Muser does make another mistake. We're going to see these cars just rip through the start-finish straight. Berger still leading, but not by much. One of the big things about Daytona and any oval course is maintaining that slipstream. Whether it's a side draft or you're directly in the slipstream, being close to your opponent will help you out. Now, this is the part where the Alfa Romeo is going to definitely thrive. It's got a shorter wheelbase compared to its competitors, and so even though it is a high-speed balance and performance setting that is enabled here, the Alfa Romeo is still going to be very nimble. Now, it is worth noting that Conan is, and also Rantala are going to have the advantage on straight line speed, which definitely throughout the backstretch, which is technically starts at turn 6 and then goes from 7 all the way to turn 9. And then shortly after 10, it kind of picks back up again for the final few corners of the track. But Berger's got a penalty and a bit of a snap from the South African driver. So Conan is now going to slip into the lead of this race. And like on a high-speed track like Daytona, that penalty is going to cost you several seconds despite being only a half a second slowdown. You lose way more time than just half a second. So Alex is going to try to make a position onto Berger. Well, he gets one on the Rantala. He was going to try to go for one on Berger, but just did not have that real estate there, as once again the Mercedes take up 2 out of the 3 top spots, and then the spot immediately behind those top 3 is also a Mercedes. So we know that the Mercedes is going to be stronger, as Alex is going to try to go around the outside of Berger. We're going to hop on board now with the German driver, and with that slowdown applied, that was an easy move, done and dusted for Alex. Rantala makes it past as well. Now it is a Mercedes 1, 2, 3, and Alfa Romeo are 4th and 5th. So far, not a great start for the Alfa Romeos. Although we kind of coming into this weekend, we kind of figured that this might be a track that Alfa Romeo tends to struggle at, considering that their car is better on corners than it is straight line speed. And as we saw from St. Croix, if it is a track with a lot of straight line speed, then the Mercedes is a dominant machine. So Conan in this position is currently looking like he's going to extend his championship lead. But once again, we're not even a 10th of the way through this race yet. It is only lap 4 out of 45. We're only going to be around a 9th of the way done once we start this next lap. Conan though is setting purple sector, so he's likely going to take the fastest lap of the race as the wind has died down and the sun has went down, so track temperatures are going to be a bit cooler. So keeping those tires in the optimal temperature range is going to be very important in this race. Although granted, it won't be too much of an issue considering that Florida is a very hot state, especially at this time of year. It pretty much lives in the 80-degree ballpark, so that is worth noting. Doesn't play much of a factor here in Gran Turismo, unfortunately, but in general, that would definitely really play a factor to humidity too. Humidity is a very prominent part of Florida. What is also potentially very prominent is the potential for Berger to try to pass up the inside of Rantala. It's going to be a battle of who can outbrake who, and the smaller wheelbase, the smaller frame of that Alfa Romeo is good enough to move him up into P3 at the moment. So Inferno Motorsports trying to make some recovery progress here, but so far hasn't been the smoothest of sailing. And it also has not been smooth sailing for 9PP, as Craigo has engine damage. Well, we saw Alex, I think it was Alex, or we saw somebody had that last week. So there's powertrain damage on the Mercedes, and that is going to take quite a moment to fix up, as this is a decently long pit lane. It takes you about 30 seconds just to get fuel, as we're watching a battle between Darth Vader and Clemison now, with Clemison taking the position, as the Ferrari of Darth Vader is going to try to swing around and try to catch up, as Craigo is still making his pit stop. So it's been an unfortunate time in recent times for this 9PP squad. They haven't had the strongest of seasons, but I mean, sometimes you just have those seasons occasionally. if you're a fan of Formula One, Ferrari is currently in the midst of one of those seasons, although their results are pretty promising currently at Monaco. Leave in the comment section in this chat if you actually want to see Monaco coming into Gran Turismo. I know it's a pretty common belief in the fan base that we are more than overdue for some new tracks. And I know people have been wanting Monaco for quite some time now. So we'll see if we do get that track eventually. I'm not sure what tracks are data mined, although in recent times the data mined tracks are just there for show, I guess. Considering we haven't had a new track since Jaeger Nordwand, which is a fun track in some cards, but in these GT3 cards it would just be pretty rough, I would say. So, and let us know in the chat if there's any track in particular you would like to see in Gran Turismo 7. It's a fun discussion that I like to have pretty much almost every stream, just because, I mean, the thing I love about racing in general is that there's so many drivers and so many fans as well with different backgrounds. I mean, if you look here, there is only 2 drivers, actually, yeah, there's only 2 drivers that share a flag. I'm sorry, 4 drivers that share flags. And so we have 6 different flags on the grid tonight alone, which is pretty impressive. And that's just the beauty of motorsports. We have 2 Finnish drivers, we have a German driver, we have a South African driver, which is what you don't see a lot of nowadays. We have a Dutch driver, 2 British drivers, and then we have an American driver. So that's just the beauty of racing esports in general, is that you have so many drivers from so many different backgrounds competing, and the spectators and fans also share those diverse backgrounds. I mean, drivers can come from any part of the globe, and that's why I absolutely love this sport, just because of the amount of different countries and continents that are represented here. I mean, it's always really awesome to see. So a lot of different opinions as well. So that's why it's always really fun to have motorsports discussions with you guys in the chat as we see some very good racing coming on. Now, we only have 3 rounds left to go after the season wraps up. And yeah, it's interesting to say the least. I mean, we have some very solid tracks coming up here very, very shortly. We'll talk about them in a moment. Alex is still trying to chase down Icona right now. Now, I mean, the Mercedes are going to try their best to pull away from Berger, because they know Berger and Muser both have some really good straight line speed. So once again, Alex setting a purple sector now in that Mercedes for Exodus Motorsports. Now, it is also worth noting that if there's a few names missing here tonight, unfortunately. Venomous Venom is another Exodus Motorsports driver on the same part of the same organization as Alex, but not the same team, I don't believe, I believe they're running 2 separate entries, because Alex wanted to run the Mercedes, and Venomous Venom is in the BMW. The same M6 that we see from Clemson and Crago. Cars currently in P7 and P8. TWR Mercedes is also another driver that is unfortunately absent tonight, so around the 12 drivers we typically have around here. So we are missing Chicken Curry, Venomous Venom, TWR Mercedes, and I believe I mentioned someone else earlier. I already forget, unfortunately. I do apologize, but we are missing quite a few drivers here tonight. So hopefully we'll see them back next week, as next week we are heading to the Nürburgring, the 24-hour layout. So now a little bit of background onto the calendar side of things, as we're enjoying this battle between Darth Vader and Clemson. Vader hoping the dark side will power him to get away from this BMW that is chasing him down. So it is a community vote on what tracks are selected. Now, the Nürburgring is a track that got quite a few amount of votes, but its GP layout was also one of the most voted tracks. But since the Nürburgring was already selected and the favored of the two, That's why we're not heading to Germany twice over this season, but maybe we'll see the Nürburgring GP next time around. We'll just have to find out. And if you guys want to join in, go ahead and join the Hammers Racing Community Discord. If there's a request and you want to get involved with the action, go ahead and leave a message in chat. And I will go ahead and grab a link and drop it into the Twitch chat. So you'll be able to actually get into any of the races. You'll also never miss any of the races that you may miss, because stream announcements are also posted in the Discord. Whether it is myself or DJ commentating and streaming. Hopefully we will see his return soon. He is a very fantastic commentator who has commentated here in Div 1 before and in Div 2 occasionally. So hopefully we will also get the streams back for Division 2. I do want to recommend to the chat, once you are done here, go ahead and check out our Division 2 races. The few of them that are on the channel. They are some fantastic races. I mean, just because they're not in the top division of Hammers Racing Community does not mean that you don't get some top level action. You certainly do. These drivers are fantastic. Over in Division 2, hopefully we'll be able to start getting streams over there once again sooner rather than later. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us here on Twitch, and that way you'll never miss any of the racing action. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to go ahead and take an onboard lap. Let's go on board with the driver whose home race it is today. Although he has two home races, because after we go to Nürburgring, we go to our last doubleheader of the season and we head to Watkins Glen. We're going to hop on board with the American driver. We're going to do, and actually, once he's done with this lap, we'll do an onboard lap with him and the B&H Ferrari. Oh, but actually, hang on, we might have to put that one on hold momentarily, because Conan does have a half-second time penalty, which is going to bring it's going to bring Alex, Runtala, and Berger all into this battle, as Berger and Alex side by side coming through the home stretch. Who's going to be ahead at the end of this corner? It looks like it might be Alex, but did he outbrake himself? We're going to find out. And Alex does keep that position. But how close is that car behind? Interesting bug with the camera there. There's the camera I was trying to get at. But yeah, as we're looking at the rear wing of Alex, we do see that Berger is not too far behind, but once again, it's these straight line sections that really just do not favor the Alfa Romeo in any stretch. But I mean, if we take a look at Muser's got a very strong gap to the Ferrari of Darth Vader, as we're seeing him trying to chase down one of the Mercedes. The team that they're directly battling with in this Constructors Championship, in this team battle, is the GT Finland Racers, and right now, the GT Finland Racers are in a very good spot to extend their gap in the championship, extending that lead ahead of the Inferno Motorsport Squad and pulling away from the My Team Esports, which unfortunately have not been around for a few rounds now, which is very unfortunate because they provided us a very good battle alongside the original Inferno Motorsport entry, which saw a really fun battle between the Hyundai Genesis and the Mazda RX Vision that went onto the last lap of Spa for our season opener. Definitely check out our race if you haven't already. It is a fantastic race that I highly recommend. And then also check out the Division 1 and Division 2 races from Laguna Seca, our first doubleheader of the season, because those were both also some very banger races. That was also the commentary debut of DJ, who is the other commentator here at HRC. And he did a fantastic job on his first time commentating for the league here at Hammers Racing Community. And like I said earlier, hopefully we will see him back very, very soon. Now we're gonna go ahead and hop onto an onboard lap. Once we get back around, we'll do an onboard lap actually with our current race and championship leader at the moment. We'll see if there's any other spicy battles. Once again, it is Runtala and Muser going ahead and battling it out once again for P4 on the track. Now this does have some pretty heavily championship implications now, as there's 4 rounds left, including the round that we are currently watching. As once again, Alex and Berger side by side going into Le Mans chicane. Berger does have a little bit more speed. Alex has the inside line. Alex is going to brake later, get the move done and dusted. He's going to go ahead and keep that position. The position he lost for a very small fraction of time, as these very insane GT3 cars go over the curbs at the end of turn number 10, part of the Le Mans chicane that is on this track. We're going to actually stay on board with this battle for a little bit, because once again, Berger and Alex, oh, maybe a little bit of contact between the two. A flash of the light, so there was definitely contact between Alex and Berger. Alex, we know him for his very aggressive driving style. We saw some dive bombs from him at Brazil last time out in the second part of the doubleheader. Berger is still going to be really, really close to this Mercedes. He's going to try to make something happen, but just can't quite get it done. He's going to stick right behind the Mercedes of Alex for a little bit longer, but this is actually creating a very good gap for Conan. We're going to see a potential move around the outside at turn number 5, but nope, just not enough real estate, and that's not really a good spot to overtake on. But Berger is very close to Alex, so we will possibly see a move onto that back straight onto what would normally be the second part of the oval, which I believe is labeled as turn 2 on the oval, so we'll see about that. So anyways, this is a very interesting battle. We're actually going to go on board now with the guy trying to get into P2 at the moment. He's thinking about trying to make a move on Alex as we're running on board with the Alfa Romeo. Alex closing the door. He does not want any kind of Girl Scout cookies, as he is continuing to hold on to that second place like his life depends on it. We're going to stay on board for a full on-board lap with the driver currently in P3 and the race winner from last time out, or at least one of the race winners from last time out. I think he's our most recent winner, so we're going to stay on board as he goes through this lap. We'll let you enjoy all the sounds of the battle as he does try to swing past Alex. Alex is going to brake later, and with that being said, as we go ahead and begin the rest of the lap, we will be right back. Alright, so that was an onboard lap there. And boy, oh boy, what a battle it is, and this battle's not over yet. I was going to go ahead and rewind to the battle earlier on, but, I mean, they're still fighting tooth and nail. Alex sending one up the inside forcing Berger to go wide. Berger loses 2 positions there at the moment. So we saw how Berger got the move done onto Alex finally, but Alex making Berger go wide there on the corner exit has made him lose actually 3 positions if you count Alex. So a really unfortunate moment there for Berger. I'm sure that's going to have an incident report attached to it. As we are on lap 14 out of 45. Alex, though, is pretty low on fuel compared to the Alfa Romeos. And actually, Muser's on some fantastic fuel right now. So he's definitely going for the overcut. So let's go and take a look at that incident. Let's go and take a look at the moment earlier on. So here's the battle here. So Alex is, the good amount of contact there, forcing Berger to go wide. And that right there is what forces Berger to lose a few positions. We're going to take a look at that again, this time from Berger's POV. So here he is now. He's got Alex going to go up the inside, a little bit of contact, a bump, forcing him wide. And then he loses those positions and then lets his teammate through. And that is pretty much that in terms of how that moment happened. And now Berger's situation is getting from bad to worse. So drivers who are about to make a move are having half-second penalties applied. So positions are not going to change, but Rantala is going to be the first one into the pits here at Daytona. So we're going to be on board with the stop. Darth Vader and Clemens. Actually, Darth Vader is really low on fuel. The Ferrari not exactly being the best car on management, at least for this race. So we'll see about the pit stop for all these drivers. Now this is a very long pit stop in this race. It is even if you don't get fuel, which these drivers are going to go ahead and get fuel, it is still a 31-second pit stop just to change tires. So he's going to get fuel. He's probably going to top off on fuel. So this is going to take a moment. He's going to lose a lot of time in this pit lane. So we'll see how much fuel he gets. He's probably going to top off is my guess. As we're going to return to the front of the field. And good timing because there's battling happening now. Both of the Alfa Romeos getting past Alex now. And it is P2 and P3 at the moment for the Alfa Romeo duo from Inferno Motorsports. Now, when are they going to pit? Because Berger has the Berger has a pit warning. It's flashing red, meaning he's running out of fuel. And Alex does get the overtake using a superior straight line speed from the Mercedes. He's going to move up into P3 on the track at the moment. Now Berger is pulling away quite a bit, but Alex is really going to be trying to fuel save here because that car is, I think he's going to run out of fuel by the time he actually gets into the pit lane. Yep, he's out of fuel. I believe he's out of fuel anyway, so good time for him to make the pit stop. Conan's making the pits. Muser is going to inherit the lead of this race. And yeah, Alex actually did run out of gas. So he'll be coasting into this pit lane. And I mean, he timed out to perfection when it comes to that running out of fuel at the time, but he's going to lose a lot of time in the pits. As Muser is still going to go around for quite some time. Now we see the Exodus Motorsports Mercedes coming into the pits. Swapping out tires, putting on a fresh set of rubber. And he's going to go ahead and get his fuel. As we're going to head back to the race leader at the moment now. Actually, here's a driver we're going to keep an eye on. So Rantala is going to jump all of these drivers in the pits. So, actually, yeah, so is Vader and Clemens because that pit lane is so long. So they lost a few positions roughly. So Rantala might, well actually Conan did go ahead and get out ahead of his teammate. So it is currently a P2 and P3 for this GT Finish Racer squad. But with the amount of time in the pits, Muser's just going to continue to lose time to these Mercedes in the back. And I wonder if that's kind of getting a bit close on that pit line. So I wonder if he's going to get a half-second penalty because that's really going to put a damper into his race. because we know the Alpha can go long. We know it is a management merchant. And we'll see if he comes into the pits this time around. No, he stays out for another lap. So it's another lap. So when this next lap rotates, when we hit lap 18, if we don't see a pit stop, we're going to actually compare the lap times between these drivers. So 1:48 for this lap. And we'll just have to see what the lap time is. But Muser does have quite a big gap. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these drivers that are going to be close to battling each other out now. The pit stop did spread out this field a little bit, but we know that it may be a moment of sooner rather than later once we start seeing battles again on this track. And especially as we're going to see a few more pit stops. So Berger is the only car that has not made a pit stop. Crago does have damage. The front left suspension and the front aerodynamics of his car are damaged, so he's not going to get that top speed. And cornering is not going to be as easy for the BMW. But let's actually go back to this midfield, because there might have been some spice cooking up in this midfield here, as Alex is gaining a good amount of time onto Berger now. But this is the part where he's going to really lose some of that time as we see the cars navigate the International Horseshoe, as it is called. We'll see if Alex can go ahead and try to catch up to Berger. Now this is the part where the Alfa Romeo is really going to succeed at compared to the Mercedes, but we're coming up to the part where the Mercedes is the favorite, but the Ferrari isn't too far off, so Darth Vader might actually be a factor in this battle for P4 on track at the moment. So interesting stuff. It is a purple sector though for Darth Vader. So Vader is setting purple sectors in that Ferrari, and Muser does come into the pit lane. Now all eyes are going to be the current championship leader of It Conan. We'll see if he's going to be in a spot to go ahead and try to reclaim the race lead, as the Inferno Motorsports car is yet to even fully enter pit road at this stage. There he is, he's into the pits now, and he's going to lose a lot of time on the fuel up, so it is going to be a bit of a drag race for It Conan. He's going to, if he was fuel saving, now is not the time to fuel save. He's going to burn it, maybe he's going to get ahead of, oh yeah, he's going to be way ahead of Muser. So it is a GT Finland Racers 1-2 at the moment, followed by Berger, Alex, Vader, and actually Muser's dropping all the way down to the back of this pack. It's lap 18 out of 45, so all these drivers are going to have to make pit stops once again. Actually, Muser does come out ahead of Vader. Forgot it does kind of like to teleport drivers a bit with the pit lane on this track. Wind has been pretty consistent throughout, honestly, for today's race. It's pretty much been staying in the 15 to 14 range. Pardon me. So yeah, the wind has been a pretty consistent factor here in Daytona, in the sunshine state of Central Florida. Although granted, the sun isn't out yet. It is currently nighttime here, as with these endurance races, there is a good amount of time progression. So we do see that here, as it started off in the daylight and now it is nighttime. But Darth Vader started the lap behind Muser, and maybe he's going to try to get ahead of the Dutch driver. We know the Ferrari does have some pretty solid pace around the circuit, but Muser able to brake later in that Alfa Romeo. It's a battle of the Italian cars right now. But I think Vader did get a bit of a better exit, so we might see a move on to Muser now, as we take a look up ahead at the Inferno Motorsports driver, who does have a Ferrari behind him for company. Is this going to be an overtake? We'll see it here momentarily. Oh, we got onto the flat part of the track. That's going to be a good advantage for Vader to try to outbrake Muser. No, he doesn't quite get it. But I mean, he had the setup to potentially make a move. Vader's still trying to find an opening, still trying to get the move done in that Ferrari. He is trying everything possible, but Muser is defending like his life depends on it. He's on the fresher tire and he's got more fuel, so he will be able to go longer than Vader will in this battle for P5 at the moment on track. But we'll see if Vader can make the move done. He's going to send it up the inside, but still not quite able to get the move done. I mean, it's been the case of Vader has the ideal line, but just can't quite make the move stick onto Muser there. So we'll see if we can get him around this oval. Daytona now with a very sizable lead up at the front. And this, we knew that this track is going to favor the Mercedes, because right now in this championship, at least in Division 1, it has been mostly Alfa Romeo versus Mercedes. And once again, Vader just, he lines up a move, but he's just unable to get it done. He's trying everything he can, burning up tires and fuel for both cars. That, I mean, management in these 90-minute endurance races, they're crucial. And we know that, I mean, that's really the big way you gotta fight these Alfa Romeos, is that you gotta really make sure they just start burning stuff and just stop, like, their biggest strength in these type of races is the fact that they can manage super well. They can manage the tires, they can manage the fuel. They just don't use as much fuel because of that 4-cylinder, but so far, I mean, even though the Ferrari should have more straight line speed, just unable to get past Muser at the moment. Trying to make him burn fuel and burn time, but just looks like neither one of those are really happening just because of how strong that car is. We're going to actually stay on board with this battle because this is a very entertaining battle here between Darth Vader and Muser. Darth Vader, his pace has been getting quicker in these last few races. I believe he even got fastest lap in one of the races at Interlagos, as Crago's another driver that basically ran out of fuel coming into the pits. So unfortunate for him, but he does make it to the pits. That's the important thing. Your car does get a bit of a boost technically whenever you come into the pits. You somehow still have infinite fuel, even if you run out of fuel on track. So pit stop here for the British driver, and now he's going to go ahead and take his next pit stop, get some fuel, get that front aerodynamic damage fixed up, as we are going to go ahead and see these drivers once again. Now, Berger has closed the gap onto Rantala. Now, the thing with Rantala is he wants to try to give his teammate as much of a buffer as he can. So even in the event that Berger does get past, he's trying to make it to where it's an impossible mountain to climb to try to get back to Idkonen. Trying to make sure that the Finnish storm is too strong for the South African driver to brave. And right now, Rantala is doing a really good job to try to keep the Constructors' Championship well within the GTFR's grasp. I mean, they got both hands on it right now. I mean, they're in a good spot to win the team's championship, especially in Division 1, but overall, too, is looking very promising for this GT Finnish Racer squad. As while the drivers do have, the drivers are 100% scored differently. There's actually two separate championships, or two separate classifications for the team's championship. You have the division-specific championship, and then you have the overall championship, rewarding the consistency of these teams. And right now, the GT Finnish Racers, being the two Finnish drivers of Idkonen and Rantala, currently they lead both. Actually, they lead both the team's championship in Division 1 and overall. So they're in a good spot, and it would be a massive achievement for these drivers if they can go ahead and get a clean sweep in Division 1, the Drivers' Championship, and also the D1 Constructors plus the overalls. I mean, you couldn't have really asked for a better season. I mean, the only thing maybe would be getting a 1-2 in the championship, as Berger does get around the outside of Rantala. who is now going to try to chase after it, Conan. So once again, this battle between Vader and Muser is still going on. These two cars have been battling for a while now, and it's allowing Alex to kind of just start pulling away a bit, but it's also bringing Clemison into this battle as well. Now granted, Muser is in a way better situation when it comes to fuel and tires, but Darth Vader is keeping him honest. He's making him fight for pretty much every single meter on this track. Every single mile, these drivers are fighting left, right, and center. Darth Vader is trying to channel the power of the dark side to try to get past this Alfa Romeo, which, depending on which team you're a fan of, may actually represent the dark side and the evil forces. I don't know, I've only seen like a third of Star Wars, so apologies that my Star Wars analogies aren't up to scratch. I actually haven't watched Star Wars until October of 23, I think, actually, 2023. So yeah, super late to the game on that, but regardless, what I do know is that Darth Vader definitely is putting up a commendable performance in that B&H Ferrari, as Muser is as well. Muser now finally breaking away from the Ferrari, and now he's going to try to go after Alex, but Alex hasn't had these most solid second stints on this medium set of tires. He's behind Rantala by quite a big margin, and Rantala is still trying to chase down Berger, but we know the Alfa Romeos and their management, I mean, it's been a big story for the second half of the season, really. It's just the Alfa Romeos and management have just been impeccable. So it's been an impeccable, well, impeccable isn't the right word for this next comment, but it has been an interesting season. We saw that in the early rounds of the season, the first 3 rounds, it was pretty much Hyundai versus Mazda, and now we don't see either of those cars fighting for the top. It's Alfa Romeo and Mercedes. So, I mean, even in just half a season, so much can change. I mean, we know that a lot of things have changed this season. We know we did go through the merger and rebrand from the Zeus GT League now to Hammers Racing Community after merging with the F1 Racing League, or F1RL for short, the group that hosts the Race to the Top series every so often. They've had 2 rounds at the moment. They have raced at the Brands Hatch circuit, and then also at the streets of Willow Springs in the KTM Crossbow. It is a good series if you want to get introduced into endurance racing, 90-minute timed races for those. So we merged with that league to pretty much bring out the Hammers Racing Community, so there's been a good amount of change there as well. And initially this was the first season that we were running under the Zeus GT League banner instead of the Zeus Gaming League of prior times. And then we've had the landscape of this championship change too. Quite a few new drivers joining the league, and we've had some unfortunate departures. But I mean, so far it has been a very fun season, and I do want to thank you guys in the chat. If you're watching now, if you're watching the VOD, or overall you're just popping in for a bit, maybe listening to the race, kind of similar to a podcast while you do work, your homework, or if you're starting a new job, maybe you're doing some of the training while listening to racing in the background. We really do appreciate you guys tuning in and just hanging out with us here at the Hammers Racing Community. Do want to remind you guys to go ahead and follow us here on Twitch so you don't miss any of the live streamed races here on this platform, whether it's Division 1 or Division 2. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can check out the races once they go live onto YouTube. The whole stream VOD will go up onto YouTube. It's usually same day when it comes to the races that are full on live streamed. I know in some recent times there's been a few technical problems with the live streams, so they have went to VODs a bit later than normal, but I believe that is all fixed up for now, so you can see this, watch this whole race later on a VOD. as well as relive the qualifying moments here. Usually it's a few hours roughly after the race is done and dusted, but usually it's not more than a few hours. But go ahead and drop a like on that video or on the race VOD as it goes live. And yeah, we also did change Twitch accounts too. That was another thing that might have thrown some people off. So we do want to thank you guys so much for sticking with us. I know it's been a pretty busy season for us here at the Hammers Racing community. But hopefully you guys are enjoying your time here, because I know I am. And right now, Alex is definitely not enjoying the fact that he just doesn't have the pace on this medium set of tires. Muser has caught up to him quite considerably now, so Muser now within half a second, but we know Alex likes to defend quite a lot. Like he is the third animal trying to go on to Noah's Ark as it begins to rain. We know that the German driver does fight tooth and nail for positions. We saw it earlier on today, where he was fighting both of the Alfa Romeos at one point for position. So we will see how this all plays out. But right now, the battle to watch is Alex and Muser. Muser now catching up to the back of this Mercedes, and actually we're going to do an onboard lap with Alex once the next lap kicks in. We'll do another ASMR lap so you can hear the battle of the Mercedes, and then you'll be able to hear round 2 of Alex versus an Alfa Romeo, possibly happening here very, very soon. The wind is slowed down a bit as the sun is starting to come back up, so we'll see how the drivers change with the sunrise. And is Muser going to try to get this move done? Oh, a bit of a bump there, so maybe trying to get a bit of a bump draft like you see sometimes in NASCAR. We'll see the move is made, but without any further ado, we'll be right back. Hope you guys enjoy the onboard of the driver currently in P5, Muser. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and once again, actually he did get passed, so Alex gonna try to send it up again on the inside. No, he doesn't quite get it. Once again, the management on the Alfa Romeo is proving to be the deciding factor in some of these battles in this race, as we're on lap 27 out of 45, so little over halfway now in this race, and it is a long one for certain. Still a good amount of racing left to go. Still at least one more round of pit stops for these drivers. So we'll just have to see how everything is play out. We see a comment in chat telling Alex to drive normally. Interesting one. That is the Inferno Motorsports account, where their drivers currently in P2 and in P4. But somehow I have a feeling that Alex is going to try to make a move, but he does back off a bit going into the Le Mans chicane. He knows he doesn't have the tires to go after this Alfa Romeo, or at least not in that chicane, but he will have the straight line speed around the oval as the sun is coming back up here in the Sunshine State. We are here in Central Florida, where the temperatures are hot and the battles are even hotter. Alex getting a bit of a bump draft there. We're on a NASCAR track, so this is NASCAR activity on a NASCAR track. We'll see if he can get the move done into turn one. He's going to have to try to stick it around the outside. Muser putting his car on the inside. It's so hard to make the move around the outside. And that is why right there, because that corner it's trickier than it looks. It's a very difficult hairpin to kind of navigate, if you could even call it a hairpin. It's just a tricky corner where it looks wider than it actually is. So if you try to go wide around the corner, you're usually not going to pull off a move, just because the concrete right on the outside of turn number 3 is just so difficult to kind of navigate around if you're trying to go the long way. So I mean, we've seen it work long ways before, but most times if you have the inside line going into turn 1, it's gonna stick. I know I said the concrete around turn 3, I meant turn 1, so do apologize for that. But once again, I mean, Alex is gonna have that straight line speed. He's gonna have that straight line speed advantage, but here's the thing though, he does have a considerable amount more horsepower than the Alfa Romeo does, but that forces him to go through more fuel. So, oh, it's a bump! That's a big bump. And Muser is off the track after that big bump there, and let's watch it again, because I got a feeling this is gonna be a stewards report in the making. So, trying to go for a move. He coasted into the backs of Muser there, and then he just gets a bit too much on the curb. So we're gonna watch that again, but I want to watch it from Muser's point of view. So does he brake? Because Alex doesn't brake, at least not by much. So let's see here. Does he brake? He does brake, and he gets bopped. So that's going to be an interesting one into the steward's room. I'm sure that's going to be an incident report, undoubtedly, as we see Vader coming into the pits to be the first pit stop since we have hit sunrise here at Daytona. He's getting fresh new to Firestone tires. He's going to go another set of mediums, and these may be able to get him to the end, but so far, as we talked about with the Alfa Romeo being really good on management, it just doesn't seem like that's the same case for the Ferrari. It just seems like its fuel consumption is a bit higher compared to a good chunk of the grid, which is really going to bite you when it comes to these endurance races. Conan still holds the lead from Berger, from Rantala, rounding out our podium, and then Alex, who is probably going to be under investigation due to that moment with Muser earlier on. We'll see how that one plays out into the stewards room. I do want to give a shout out to our stewards though, because I have done stewarding before, and I can promise you it is such an unenviable position. I like the idea of stewarding, but I just don't like being a steward myself. I'd much rather be in the commentary box. So yeah, it's a very unenviable position, and I have much love and respect for the stewards that we have here at the Hammers Racing community, getting stuff done and dusted in a timely fashion. It just shows that even in a league that there's no money involved, like there's no prize money, we don't have like a $1 million prize pool or anything like that, but it still requires a lot of people to get these leagues going and to get them in a good spot. Like the management at the Zeus GT League, now HRC, have done a fantastic job with the season so far, I think. We've had some very excellent races here throughout the season. And yeah, it does take a lot of people to get a league like this to operate. Leagues are not one-person ordeal, so I do want to give a massive shout-out to the staff team here at HRC. You guys have done a fantastic job so far, and hopefully you guys continue to do a fantastic job as we continue to go further and further into the season. We got 3 rounds left after this round here at Daytona, and I'm looking forward to see what these next 3 races bring, as well as the rest of this race. We're going to take a look here for any kind of battles happening at the moment. Looks like the closest one on track is Alex and Rotella, but even then, it's still about 5 seconds apart. So, as it typically is in the nature of these longer races, oh, here we go. So Berger and Conan pit in. They're both at the same amount of stuff, which is interesting considering how powerful the Alfa Romeo is on management. So, we're seeing a lot of these drivers pit in. So Muser is going to go in and take the lead of this race so far. So, interesting stuff in this race. So, the top 4 pit, Muser benefits from it. But can Muser make it to the end though? Personally, I don't think so. We'll see how much fuel these drivers get, and that may actually kind of help my prediction out here a bit. So, Conan is into the pits, getting a good amount of fuel. So what's he... Are they topping off? Yeah, they're topping off. So, Conan topped off. Berger topped off. So those 2 cars are back on the track, and they're actually going to be really close to each other. So we might see a battle here for the net race lead. Rotella comes out. He put on 96. Alex is on full, so... Rotella is the only driver that didn't quite get full fuel, but he got 96% fuel, which I think will take him all the way to the end. So we'll just have to see how the rest of this race plays out. So, Muser, the only way I can see Muser getting to the end is if he runs his fuel at a more lean mixture. So in Gran Turismo, like in a few other games, you do have the option to run your fuel map to either a strong or lean setting, although in Gran Turismo it is a bit more advanced that you have 6 stages, with 1 being full power and 6 being full lean, as it is called in game, or where you're doing the most fuel saving. The trade-off is if you go to a 1, or the closer you are to 1 is the more fuel you're going to be burning, but you're going to get more of your full horsepower. And if you go closer to a 6, then you're gonna get better fuel consumption, but you're gonna lose a lot of power. So it's a bit of a trade-off. But it could save you, the seconds you lose on track could save you from losing more seconds off track into the pits, because we know this is, even like without getting fuel, this is, I mean, if you get a full tank of gas, it is almost a full 1-minute pit stop. So it's, from my testing earlier, it's about 31.5 seconds, I think, roughly, and Berger's having a bit of a moment there on those cold medium tires. He's got to get those things into the right operating window, which here in sunny Florida shouldn't be that much of a problem, but the first lap or 2 is going to be a bit tricky on these medium compound tires, and I mean, it's kind of obvious that the medium tire was probably going to be the tire to go for this entire race. The soft tire is the fastest tire in the game, but it gets murdered when it comes to tire life. So, yeah, if you want the best of both worlds, you really want that medium tire. Now, the hard tire is going to be the best for trying to go for the full in like a very long stint, like what we've been typically seeing from this driver right here, currently in the lead. But you just don't get as much grip. So you got to think of it kind of like the mediums are that middle ground. If you want pace, you go for the softs. If you want endurance, you go for the hards. if you feel like being Ferraris occasionally, you'll run intermediates on a dry track. Which if there's any new drivers potentially thinking of getting into Gran Turismo competitive, one thing I'll tell you is that do not run intermediates or wets on these kind of dry track conditions. You're going to have no grip and your tire life is going to be non-existent. Especially because most leagues will run anywhere between 1 and 5 times tire wear depending on the series. I believe we run a 4 times tire wear here at HRC. So yeah, your soft tires have the life expectancy of a mosquito, and if you're running a intermediate tire on a dry track in these kind of conditions where it's bone dry and the sun is shining very brightly here in Florida, as it typically does. It is known as the Sunshine State for a reason. And as you can see, it looks like there's a few clouds off into the distance, but it just doesn't look like rain is going to be a factor in today's race. So unlike Le Mans where rain was a constant in that race, it doesn't appear to be any rain here in this race here today at Daytona. So you can go look now through the field. Yeah, so it's interesting how everything is going to play out, and I'm actually really excited for next season because next season, although granted we're still about a month away from next season even remotely being planned, unless the goats of the admin team are actually already planning the next season. Next season should be a lot of fun. We did pick up some new teams this season that haven't been around for prior seasons. The first one that does come to mind is the Exodus Motorsports team. But I want to say, now I can be corrected if I'm wrong. I do not mind being wrong, or being told I'm wrong. But I believe this Inferno Motorsport Squad, and Muser is off the track. He went deep into one of the corners. Let's see what happened there actually for Muser. But I believe this Inferno Motorsport Squad is new to the league as well. And they hit the ground running. Oh, yep, he just went wide into turn 1. And he spun too, so that's an unfortunate moment there for Muser. And any advantage he had from the overcut is probably non-existent now at this stage of the race. So, I mean, we've had quite a few new teams show up this season in Division 1 and Division 2. Hopefully we'll get even more next time. Hopefully we'll see fully packed out grids next season, and maybe the return of the car draft, because that is something that used to happen. As we're going to ride on board now with the championship leader, I'm going to talk about the car draft because it was a pretty interesting thing from at least last season, and it was actually part of the only season I competed in, which I believe was season 2, I want to say. I want to say it was season 2 where I competed as a one-off driver. So if you are familiar with American football, well, actually a good amount of American sports too. I know NBA does as well, but primarily the NFL, or the National Football League here in the United States of America, does this thing called the draft. Now, with the draft, college players have a chance to be drafted or picked up by pro teams. They make a big deal out of it. They have several nights of drafts. Each team goes in order and picks the player of choice that they want to add to their squadron. Now, in the HRC, or formerly Zeus GT League, or actually even before then when I was here, it was just the Zeus Gaming League, each team, I want to say it was on constructor standings results, or reverse constructor standing results, don't quote me on that, but I believe how it used to go was that they could pick a car for their team, so they could pick which GT3 car that they ran for the entirety of the season, and then no other team would be able to pick that car. So if the GT Finnish racers here chose the Mercedes, then the other teams would not be able to pick that Mercedes. The only car you could get away with that with is the BMW, because of the fact it does have that endurance and it's got the sprint model. like what we see from the 9PP drivers. I think they're both running the sprints variation, but other than that, that's pretty much all she wrote in terms of that. But the problem that they were running into was that sometimes teams would pick really good cars, like let's say the BRZ, for example, because I know the BRZ was a bit of a problem in terms of balance, and I think it still is. Oh no, I think it got nerfed quite heavily in the not the most recent patch where they did change some BOP stuff, which granted it really didn't do much, but the last major BOP change, which happened around round 2 at Laguna Seca for us, so that one, so let's say you pick the BRZ, right, and then nobody else can use the BRZ. It's a cool idea in theory, but the problem that we ran into was that teams would pick the BRZ and then just not show up for the rest of the season, so pretty much blocking out anyone from actually driving their car for kind of no reason. So the draft was done away with for this season. Might come back in future seasons. I don't know yet. If we do know, then it will be something provided. I know there's a few other things in the pipeline from just little bits and little tidbits I've heard. So until those get officially announced, the only way you guys can find out is if you guys go ahead and follow us here on Twitch and check us out on YouTube, because I'm sure announcements will be out sooner rather than later for any massive changes, or maybe even the calendar for next season. We'll have to see. So I know for a fact there's been some interesting new talent that has showed up here this season. Hopefully we get some more new talent. I think Div 2 actually got some new drivers as of today. Interesting to see how they perform. Hopefully they perform well. I love it when a new driver to the series gets acclimated really, really quickly and they start doing really well. That's probably one of my favorite things as a commentator, seeing the rookies do surprisingly well. But it's going to be interesting next season. Hopefully we do get a bunch of new drivers, because sometimes the drivers with the best talents are the talents that have yet to be discovered. So maybe we'll see some new teams, maybe not. Hopefully we will though. But I know what we also might see is a potential battle here coming up as we're getting closer and closer to the final stages of this race. We are over an hour into this race already. It is Berger versus Conan, so it'll be interesting to see how this battle plays out. Once again, it's been the two most dominant cars of the second half of the season, being the Mercedes and the Alfa Romeo. The most dominant cars in recent times. We saw how Alex dominated in St. Croix, but we also saw how the Inferno Motorsports drivers dominated at Interlagos. And it is currently a Mercedes team winning in the Constructors overall. So, lots of unknowns here, but that is what we are here for. That is why we love motorsport, because it is predictably unpredictable, as those clouds are looking kind of ominous, so maybe there is rain on the way. Now, an unfortunate thing is, in the bottom right part of your screen where you see the course map, there's also a weather radar that you can toggle to, but I think unless the driver is toggled onto it, we cannot see that. And there is a weather radar in game that we could use, but it only shows from the past 60 minutes to now. So it's not super useful in terms of, let's say if I wanted to have a secondary career as a meteorologist or a weatherman, it's not super useful for that, unfortunately. So we can only make predictions on the weather, but my bold prediction is that the weather is really not going to change. The wind may go up or down, judging from its wind, or the wind speed now. It is 12.3 feet per second going to the southeast. Oh, there's a yellow flag. Somebody's off. up here. Who is it? Oh, it's Craigo again. I think Craigo had a moment there too. So Craigo had a bit of a moment. We're gonna go back on board with this battle between Berger and Conan. Oh, Rantala has dropped a bit. These two are battling it out now. Alex and Rantala battling it out now for P3. So we got a battle up at the front and a battle for the last spot on the podium. It is Mercedes v Mercedes right now, fighting for this. I mean, every spot on the podium is still up for grabs here in this race. Conan is pulling away a bit from Berger, but it's still going to be a podium, probably a podium for Berger. I don't think any of these other cars have to pit, and Berger does have a 18-second gap to Alex and Rantala behind. So this is going to be an interesting one. The entire composition of this podium could change in a matter of moments. We have less than 10 laps remaining now. Less than 10 laps around this circuit at Daytona. They're going through turns 12 and 11. Going through sector number 5, the high-speed backstretch, or the home stretch. And oh, Berger's got a half-second penalty, so that's going to really allow Conan to really pull away here. The current championship leader trying to extend his lead in this championship here. With soon to be 3 rounds left to go. His closest rival is actually his teammate. His teammate's down in 4th right now. And actually he is a few seconds away from Alex. And he's going to come into the pits. Oh, he's got damage. Let's actually see if we can find the cause of that damage. We might have been a bit too late, but... yeah, we are a bit too late, so... He must have got into a moment with Alex there, causing him to have a bit of damage. So I wonder if that's going to be another incident that's going to come up later. And it's going to be another trip to the stewards room for the German driver currently in 3rd place. It'll be almost undoubtedly a on-track podium, but I wonder if there's going to be post-race penalties applied that are going to remove him from that podium spot. Rantala's going on to the soft tire now, so he's going to try to... I admit I'm trying to pull that fastest lap point away from the Alfa Romeos. Vader's also going to go out on that soft tire too, try to also get a fastest lap point for his team. He is the sole driver on the B&H Racing team. Conan now is pulled away to about a 1.2 second gap, but he's losing time in the chicane. So, but that's where Berger does have the advantage. He's got better tire life, but not so much on the fuel front. It seems like that it just seems like the Mercedes does get up to speed a bit quicker on the banked oval parts of the circuit compared to the Alfa Romeo. So I mean that might be the bit of an advantage for him, but we'll see. I mean it's going to be a lot to play for here. 6 laps left to go in this race. We'll take a look at if we find any battles. There is no battles currently at the moment, but potentially there might be one here soon between Berger and Conan. So the winner from the last race out, the second race at Interlagos, now trying to take on the current championship leader of Conan now. Conan is under threat. It's under a second now, the gap between the Alfa Romeo and the Mercedes. We'll see if anything is going to happen here. Not quite close enough to try to make a dive, although physically could have made a dive, but it just would not have been worth it, really. Probably would have damaged both cars, and then definitely would have been a penalty to the stewards room. So, Berger, I mean, he's got less fuel, but he's got a little bit better tire life when it comes to that front left. So he is actually gaining. He's in that slipstream of Berger, which we know around this track. Slipstreaming is a very strong benefit to you here, as it is on every oval. I mean, it's a big part of oval racing in general, is getting into that slipstream and just keeping it there and keeping your opponents behind and trying to make sure that you can break the toe, but keeping the momentum on an oval is also very paramount. So Conan could have higher top speed, but Berger is going to have that slipstream, which is going to give him a good amount, a bit of a speed boost there. as we're down to the final 5 laps of this race here at Daytona. So the gap is now under half a second. We're gonna ride on board now with the Finnish driver as we just take a look at how close this Alfa Romeo is, this South African driver. We'll see how close he can get. Can Berger take the lead of this race and get back-to-back wins here at the Hammers Racing Community? HRC might have a back-to-back winner here in Division 1. Let's see if that's going to happen. Once again, Ikonen is trying to make his car seem very, very wide to not allow Berger to have a good chance to make an overtake. As Berger now in the Alfa Romeo. Now, he doesn't have the same kind of straight line speed that the Mercedes does, but he does have that slipstream, which basically all but makes up for it, if not actually is better than just a regular top speed on that Mercedes. So the slipstream is really important here. Berger, that gap is getting closer and closer for the Alfa Romeo driver. He's gonna, well, he lost a bit of time there into Le Mans chicane, and now once again he's gonna try it again on the oval. The oval seems to be the part where he's doing the best at the moment. His teammate though has fastest lap, so I mean, if all else, his team will take that away from the race. And Muser is past Alex. They're gonna battle it out here once again. We got battle for third and a battle for first at the moment. And once again, it is a drag race here. Ikonen is gonna try to keep Berger behind. Berger's got the skinnier car, or the shorter car, so he could slip into gaps that Ikonen just can't defend because of that Alfa Romeo shorter wheelbase. There's less mass for the car to have to try to squeeze through, so he can make moves that Ikonen can't. And actually the same as for this battle here. Alex gonna try to go around the outside into turn 1, but does he get it? Bit of contact between the two, both going wide. More contact. Alex's Mercedes became a lawnmower. He's right back on the back of Muser, and that's probably a bit of payback from earlier. Alex is gonna send it deep, but he goes too deep. He went too deep. He's off into the grass, and that is his podium dream done and dusted, unless Muser does make a mistake. We're gonna go back to the battle for the lead now, and I'm sure Muser is thinking that is poetic justice for the Alfa Romeo, now running on the soft tire compound. So he's gonna have a good amount of advantage there, but these two drivers here are on mediums. Berger's mediums are in a better spot, and he's actually a bit of a better spot on fuel. So as we're closing in on the final 3 laps here of this race, it's gonna be just basically a drag race for a good portion of it, because it seems like Berger does lose them a bit onto these chicanes, but on the straights he does have the advantage, which is kind of the opposite of what we thought was going to be the case here. But then again, the slipstream does wonders here on this track, especially because, I mean, I know we talk about getting a tow from your teammates and such being really powerful on a lot of tracks. You think of Le Mans, you think of Maggiore, you think of St. Croix, but this track is another track that really can give you that high-speed tow, especially because the entirety of Sector 5, you're basically just going flat out as soon as you exit Turn 6. Or sorry, after you get through turn 10, it's basically flat out from there. So you really just hammer down the throttle, pedal to the metal like a dragster going through the last sector of the track. So that's pretty much how that is going to play out here. But can Berger make the move? I don't know, it just seems like even though Ikonen is better on tire life, or sorry, Ikonen has a disadvantage when it comes to tire life, it just feels like Berger is just quicker at the moment. So it's, I mean, Berger's got straight line speed because of the slipstream, but it just feels like Ikonen just gets him on corners, which is pretty backwards, as we're going to take a look at the rest of the field here. A potential battle between Rantala and Clemenzin coming up. This would be for P5 actually, as Rantala did have damage earlier on, so that set him back quite a bit. But the battle we're really going to be focused on is the battle for the lead, and we're going to remain here for the rest of this race, as Conan is going to try to hold on to that position. Berger is inching, inch by inch by inch by centimeter by centimeter. Now it's less than a tenth of a second. Now there's only hundredths behind. Berger's going to try to get it. He's got the slipstream, but can he get around the outside? He does. He does get the move done on Conan. Berger's up into the lead of this race, and that was a move he needed to get done. But once again, now it's going to put Conan, a car that has generally better straight line speed, into that slipstream. So it's probably just going to be a game of back and forth battling here between the championship leader and our previous race winner. The number 70 car trying to pull away from the number 92. But it doesn't look like he's pulling away easy, and we know Conan is not going to give this up without a fight, but neither is Berger. It's going to be a long shot down towards the final lap of this race, but we're not quite there yet. They're going to go ahead and start the back stretch here, going through turn number 6, and now hammering it through 7 and 8. They're on sector 3 now, and we'll see if Conan can catch Berger. He's closing that gap up quite a bit, but then they have the Le Mans chicane to navigate. Got the gap down to about under 0.3 of a second. A bit of a moment there, but look like Berger was better on exit of the Le Mans chicane. And then now we're about to begin the final lap of this race, and it's a battle for the lead between Berger and Conan. Berger was pulling away a bit there, actually, partially on that banking part coming out of turn 12, and the final lap is about to begin. It's going to be a fight for the win. Is it going to be Alfa Romeo domination once again? Is it going to be a third win in a row for Alfa Romeo, a second for Berger, or is the championship leader going to go ahead and increase his championship gap? We'll have to find out here very, very shortly. And now it looks like throughout the corners, Berger just had a lot more cornering speed. But yeah, taking a look at the front left tire, Berger's got a massive advantage through a good amount of these corners. So Conan is going to have to try to keep it close. He's got to try to keep it close. I think it might just... I mean, he's really got to make up time here in these oval segments, because that's really his only hope. The Alfa Romeo's got more tire life, so it's just going to have a better time here as the car mistakenly called the number 70 earlier, the number 78 car, the Alfa Romeo 4C GT3 of the South African driver from Inferno Motorsports of Berger is going to navigate third turn 6, 7, and 8 for the last time. Conan is going to have to try and close this gap. I just don't think it's going to be enough unless Berger has a massive mistake in the chicane. Oh, this is going to be a drag race. Now, these drivers are going to be full throttle, pedal to the metal, as we're going to get it ready to crown a winner here at round number 9. Conan is catching. It's not enough. It's not enough. He's going to close that gap bit by bit, but it's just not enough. Berger wins here at Daytona, and by under a second. It is Conan coming home in P2. Alex, he ran a good race, but just could not secure a podium. Went too deep in fighting this man right here of Muser. And Muser is going to come home and round out the podium. Another double podium for this Inferno Motorsports squad, and another win for the South African driver. It's 3 Alfa Romeo victories in a row, 2 for Berger. Alex comes home in 4th place. Rantala, who could have been on the podium today, but got to an unfortunate incident, comes home in P5. Clemison is going to be the next driver across the line, and with no fuel left to go, he is going to come home in P6. Darth Vader in P7, and Krago will finish a lap down in P8. Your winner is that man right there of Burger. Burger takes victory here in Daytona in the Sunshine State. Gonna go ahead and save that replay real quick. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and go take a run through our standings right here real quick just before we end off today's live stream. It is Burger taking another win here for the Inferno Motorsports Squadron, followed by Id Conan, who took him to the line, just couldn't quite get it done. His teammate Muser will come home and make it a double podium once again for the Alfa Romeo 4C Squadron of Inferno Motorsports. Alex, who could have been on the podium but just went too deep in battling Muser, comes home in P4. And then we have Runtada, who actually got the fastest lap with a 1:46.819. He comes home in P5, and then it is Clemson, Darth Vader, and Krago rounding out the grid. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's live stream. Thank you guys so much for sticking around for the entirety of the season as well. I know things have been quite different here in the last few months, but we're glad you guys have been here. Glad you guys enjoyed the race. So we'll see you guys next week at the Nürburgring. 7 laps around the Nürburgring. It's going to be a blast. Once again, my name is Patrick Coleman, aka Rekus, and this has been another round presented to you by the Hammers Racing community. Take care, hydrate, and have a good night.